Hello and welcome to the Anxious Knitter podcast. My name is Joy and I am the Anxious Knitter. I'm so anxious that every time I hear a noise in the middle of the night, my first thought is ghost, my second thought is intruder, and my third thought is complete natural disaster. But somehow it always ends up being the wind hitting my curtains. In any case, we're back for episode 7. Like I said, my name is Joy, and I'm coming to you from Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, where I live with my husband Luke and my dog Opie. This is a podcast mostly about knitting, but occasionally about crochet, sewing, and whatever else catches my fancy at the moment. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. It means a lot to me that you would want to spend a little part of your day with me. And if you're brand new, just stumbling on my little corner of the internet for the first time, welcome, and I hope you see something that you like. I'm really glad that you're here too. Yeah, I don't know. This guy decided to join me today again in a different way. What a goofball. Oh, okay. Sorry. I can't help it when he does that. So, yeah. Hey, everybody. I am back after only a week. I don't know if everybody stuck around to the end of last week's podcast where I was talking about this, but I kind of wanted to try doing it every week for a little while just to see how it felt. I wanted to see if I could, if it meant that my episodes would be a little bit shorter, which I thought might be better for you guys. Just because, there's a lot of things that you can be watching and I don't want to necessarily take up too much of your time. I do try to keep them under an hour anyway, but who knows? We'll see how it goes. It also means that I can potentially talk a little more in depth about the things that I'm working on instead of feeling like I have to rush through. So yeah, just let me know your thoughts as we try out the weekly thing. If you prefer the sort of staggered, like Wednesday, Friday, Friday, Wednesday kind of thing that I was doing before. If you like podcasts that are every other week, I'm happy to hear your opinions. Yeah, so I'm back. And it's a Wednesday. It's March break for, I don't know if they call it that. I don't think maybe it's spring break. Is it in the middle of March in the States? I don't know. I have no idea. But in Canada, anyway, we have a thing called March break, and the schools are off, and that means both my jobs are off because they sort of run along the lines of the school system. So I have a whole week, which is really nice. It's been very relaxing, hanging out with this guy. And yeah, I've gotten some knitting done. Oddly enough, not as much as I feel like I normally do, but I don't know. Anyway, should we get started on the regular content? Because that means that we're into my dweeb story of the week. Okay, sorry for the awkward cut. I just realized that my audio was being totally messed up and I recorded like almost an entire rest of my episode and then realized that I was garbled and there was a delay, so this is take 2. So yes, my dweeb story of the week. Anyway, this is not the dweebiest story I've ever told by any means, but I thought I'd share it anyway because, I don't know, this is something that would happen to me. But I was taking Opie out for his walk the other day, and our weather went from being beautiful and warm spring weather to being absolutely blistering cold. It went from, I think, 14 or 15 degrees Celsius we had a couple days to negative 20 degrees Celsius with the wind chill. So I had to bust out my winter coat again, which is a fairly new coat. I think I just bought it in January. And so I was taking Opie out, and because I don't actually own a pair of decent gloves for some reason. I don't know. I really should, seeing as I live in Ontario, but whatever. So I was just wearing my masonry mitts that I had knit a few episodes back. And it was a little too cold for just wearing fingerless mitts, so I had my hands in my pockets, which are patch pockets. Those ones that are like a scarecrow. No, the ones that are just like flat on the front. Sorry, that is my mom. I'm just gonna turn the sound off so it doesn't keep interrupting me. Yeah, so it was like where those, like the flat ones are like on the front of your coat. So I had my hands in my pocket, and then Opie decided to lunge. He just lunged at a sound, at a fluttering leaf. Who even knows? And he ripped open my pocket. Just ripped it open. It was hanging there, flapping in the breeze. I was so mad. Like, I couldn't believe it. That's the second coat that he has done that to me. He did that to my favorite raincoat. It was a beautiful fire engine red raincoat. And he tore the shoulder seam out. But anyway, so I would have to walk around my neighborhood in public looking like a slob with my pocket flapping open. And it's a big pocket. It's like that. It's a big pocket. It's not subtle. It was not a subtle error. So, yeah, that was my dweeb story of the week, I guess. And before I get into the knitting, I forgot to mention that I dyed my hair purple. I don't know how well you can see it on my computer. Oh, you can kind of see it there. I dyed it a really, really dark violet. And as you know, I have really dark hair naturally, and I didn't do any bleaching or anything. I just dyed it, and I really like how it turned out. It's super subtle, but like it's still purple. And I haven't had like cool colored hair since Luke and I started dating, which was in 2009. So yeah, sorry, I'm just admiring my hair. Anyway, should we move on to the knitting? I think we should, which means that we are into finished objects. Yes. All right. I only have one finished object this week, and that is hold on, I'm just trying to arrange them in a way that is visually appealing to me. These are my Mercury socks, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. Sorry, there's a dog hair in my nose. Which is a free pattern on Ravelry by Kim Drotar. Yeah, I just finished the second sock yesterday afternoon before Luke got home. So they are freshly washed. I don't block my socks, I just wash them. But I still think just soaking it does wonders for your stitches. Yeah, I absolutely love how these turned out. They're my favorite socks that I've knit to date. The yarn is Indigodragonfly Geek Club in the Real McCoy 7th Doctor colorway. But these I'm calling my crocodile socks because I think that they look like a crocodile's back, don't they? With the colorway. I just really love them. I did 20 rows of 1x1 ribbing, and I did a fish lips kiss heel and a rounded toe. And actually what was kind of funny is while I was doing the toe yesterday, I was watching Kalisha of the Quirky Monday Craftcast, and it is Craftcast. I said it wrong twice on my last episode. I kept saying podcast. It's the Quirky Monday Craftcast. She had said that she was noticing that her slip knits were not as tidy looking as her knit two togethers, and then she found a hack for fixing that. So when you do your slip knit, instead of slipping knitwise twice, you slip knitwise, slip purlwise, and then knit through the back loop as per usual, and it tidies it up. And so I was like, oh, is that true? And so I started doing it like halfway through my toe, and yeah, it is true. It does make a difference. I'm trying to, if you can see, I think it was, oh my gosh, the first time around I figured out which one it was I was trying to show you. Anyway, it does work. So it's a great hack. So thank you, Kalisha, for putting that on your podcast episode, because I found that really, really helpful. And I really would recommend that pattern even if you're new to sock knitting, because I think it's really easy, but it has such a wonderful effect. And I put them on after they finished drying yesterday, before I put them on the sock blockers for the episode, because I just wanted to, like, I hadn't knit socks with merino yarn yet, so I was excited to see what that was like, and it was not disappointing at all. They're so soft and so cushy, and as soon as this episode is done, I will be putting those on my feet, I can guarantee you. So yeah, that is my only finished object. Before we move on to the next segment, I'm going to take a sip of my tea out of my BMO mug. Look at BMO from Adventure Time. I couldn't resist. There's a store that we have in Canada. I don't know if you have it. I don't think you do in the US. Called HMV. And it used to be the place, it was a music store. And so it was the place to go to get your CDs and your tapes and stuff like that. And like, I remember going in there and like flicking through the CDs, and there's that very specific sound of flicking through the CDs, and like it always felt like so cool when you went in and bought like a CD in the early 2000s, because I would have been in junior high in the early 2000s, like 2002 2003 era, like to 2004 I was in junior high basically. And it was just so many memories of going to HMV. Like, you knew that you were, like, cooler, like, you were older. You'd grown up because you were going to the music store. But anyway, they're closing, unfortunately. People are not buying as many CDs. But they started getting fandom stuff in. So now they're clearing everything out. So we got this first deal. I also got, like, those Funko Pop vinyls of, like, all the 4 ladies from the new Ghostbusters movie. Ah ha ha, they're so cute. But anyway. I'm drinking Saigon chai from Diagon Alley from David's Tea, which is pretty good. I don't mind it. It's not my favorite chai. I was hoping for something a little spicier, but whatevs. Anyway, I'm going to stop waxing poetic about HMV and chai tea, and we're going to move along to works in progress. Alright, so the first one I'm going to show you is my granny stripe blanket. Like obviously this is not one that I'm going to be showing you every episode, because I probably won't have put something on it in every episode, but I put a few rows on it, so I thought I would show it to you as it is right now. I really want to figure out a way to hold this so you can actually see all the yarns that I'm using, or that I have used. Yeah, okay. So I have since added the Madeline Tosh and the ink colorway that I used for my Martine hat, the Regia yarn I used for my February socks, my North Mountain knitting yarn, and my Sweet Georgia Tough Love sock yarns for my Asunder shawl, and the yarn from my Mercury socks. And I feel like this is one of those projects, like I feel like you're gonna be able to see like the seasons in the colors that I choose, because right now they tend to be darker, you know, oranges, dark blues, olivey colors, whatever. But I can already feel myself leaning towards pastels and brighter tones for spring and summer, so I think that'll be just really interesting. And like, I'm not really curating the colors as I go. Like, it really is like, as I finish a project, I add a stripe into the blanket because I just really want to work on it. And I figure even if something looks harsh now, once I've added more colors and the thing is bigger, those tones will be pulled into other yarns almost certainly, and then they will like tone down a little bit. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if I'm explaining it in a way that makes sense. But it's like in a painting, if you put green up here, but there's no other green, it draws your eye, and you can do that intentionally. Or if you put green here and here, it just sort of like pulls everything together. Maybe that makes sense. But anyway, I am crocheting that with my new Clover crochet hook. It is a size E, which is nice because they stamp it right on there, because I never know the name of the hook. I just know the millimeters. It's a 3.5 millimeter hook. And yeah, I don't mind it. It's fine. I wish that it was longer. When I hold my hook, I hold it like this. And you can see how it kind of pushes into my palm, and I wish that it extended past my palm, because I feel like if I were to crochet with this for like a long period of time, that it might irritate, like the pressure might irritate my hand. So we'll see if that ever happens. But yeah, otherwise it's a decent hook. I just picked it up at Michael's with a coupon, because why not, right? So I can't give like a fully formed review on that, but if you don't mind a shorter hook, then you probably will like it. Hold on. Oh, one little thing I just wanted to mention, if any of you are not like crocheters, but you're doing a crochet blanket or whatever, and you're not super comfortable with it, because I know with crochet, it's so easy for these stitches to just like pull out, and that can be frustrating. I don't know, like I pull a really large loop when I finish working on a project for a certain like time, like middle of the row, end of the row, doesn't matter. When I cut the yarn, I always pull a very large loop, and this is actually a small loop. If I'm in the middle of like a row and I have to stop, I pull like a really large loop, and it just means that the yarn has further to go to unstitch itself. So I don't know if that's helpful to anybody, or if that's just a given. It's just what my mom told me to do, because my mom's a crocheter. But yeah, I've been weaving in my ends as I go, because I know that if I got to the end of this blanket and I had not woven in any of these ends, I never would. And especially because I'm doing a different color for every single row, there's so many ends. So I figure that, you know, I throw on an episode of a TV show, I throw on a podcast, and I just weave in those like 12 ends that I need to weave in, and it keeps it manageable. That's definitely something I would suggest doing. Even with your knitting, if you're doing a multicolored shawl where you have to break the yarn multiple times, just weave in your ends as you go, and then when you get to the end, you don't have that like anticlimactic moment of like, oh, I finished it, except for all these ends. So that is one of my tips for the day, I guess. Yeah, so I guess the next thing I'll talk about, and I will only talk about this very briefly because I really didn't get much work done on it, is my cup of tea mitts. Remember I'd wanted to have a whole one done to show you. No, I think I did maybe like 6 rows of the next repeat. Yeah, these are the My Cup of Tea mitts by FluffyFibers, I'm pretty sure is what it said in the pattern. Yeah. It's not that I don't enjoy them, they were just, I really wanted to finish the Mercury socks and that sort of thing, and I just didn't pick this up, but much. But I just thought I'd show it to you, because why not? It now has space in my creepy bag that Luke made me, since my Mercury socks are out of the bag, and I'm knitting these on my 2.5 millimeter Haya DPNs, not sharps, just regulars. Sharps I think would have been helpful for the make ones and the slip knits and the knit two togethers, but it's fine, I don't mind them. I am thinking I kind of want to try knitting a sock on these. And it's a bigger one than I normally do. I usually knit my socks on 2.25s, but I don't know. I like the fabric this is making, so maybe I will try it. I want to try knitting a sock on DPNs, and I want to see if it's something that's not going to make me want to like stab myself in the eyes with my DPNs. So yeah, I'm just knitting these out of Indigodragonfly yarns, in the Simon's Pretty Vest colorway, which is a Geek Club colorway. I don't believe you can get it anymore. I'm pretty sure it's totally gone. Which is she calls it a long variegated yarn, but it's funny because it's striping almost perfectly, which is just funny to me. And I did a German twisted cast on, which I also did for my Mercury socks, and guys, it is a good cast on for this kind of thing. It's so nice and stretchy, and I like the rhythm of it. Actually, I almost forgot how to do an actual just regular long tail cast on because I've just been doing German twisted cast ons, as you do. I am getting so many text messages right now from my mom and from Luke. I'm sorry if like you keep seeing my like gaze darting off. It's because the notifications come up on my screen. But anyway, so if you watched last week's episode, you may recall that I was knitting a sock for my dad out of a Lang Yavol Super Magic yarn, I think it was called. And I wanted to show you the ball band, but I'm pretty sure it got thrown away. And it was fine. I finished the leg, no problem. Started knitting the heel, and that's where things started to go awry. So I was watching The Away, which I will talk about more in my life, etc. And I got distracted and realized that I had totally screwed up my heel. So where you have that seam, right, along the sides, and it's supposed to be like this, not like, there we go, like this. But instead, mine was like this. Like, I wasn't doing the twin stitches where I was supposed to. It was so dumb. But I was like, maybe it'll be okay. Like, once you see it on, like, maybe it won't be a problem. So I'm just going to keep knitting to the foot a little bit, and then I can try it on or put on the sock blocker and see how it looks. And then problem number 2 struck, okay? And I knew that this was going to be a problem right from the beginning, and I know how to fix that problem, and I didn't do it, which is because it is a gradient yarn. If you don't use separate yarn for the heel, it will interrupt the flow of the gradient on the top of the foot, which is obviously the most visible part of the sock. And I thought to myself when I started, I was like, I really should wind off some yarn. But then I was like, well, maybe it won't be a problem. Maybe, like, I'll get to a certain point in the gradient, and then when it comes back, it won't be so, like, harsh. Maybe I'll get lucky. I don't know what was I thinking? Honestly, what was I thinking? Because that was the dumbest thing I could have done. So I knit the heel, screwed up the heel. Started knitting the foot, and lo and behold, it went straight from, like, black to light gray. Harsh line. I was like, no. And then I was like, maybe I can make it a design element. Maybe it won't look so bad. So I'll keep knitting. So I wasted time knitting more of the foot. It looked terrible. I thought maybe I can just rip back to like the start of the heel. So I'll count my rows and then I'll mark it and see if I can kind of get it approximate. No. That yarn, 1, it's black. 2, it's fuzzy. There was no way. I could not count rows. And so I just ripped the whole thing out. Started again. I got through the whole cuff, ended up accidentally pulling out the needle, couldn't pick up the stitches, started again, screwed it up again, and at that point I just had to be like, I need to just put this yarn aside. It's just covered in bad juju right now, and I need to just put it in the box, let the bad juju and the bad vibes, like, I don't know, cleanse. Sorry, I just heard somebody yell outside, and Opie's like, I don't want him to get up and jump again. Anyway, so I said to Luke, I'm like, can we please just go and get a different yarn? I will knit my dad the socks out of that yarn eventually, but I just need a different yarn right now to knit him socks in. So we went to the creepy craft store because they do stock some Regia, and I picked up a new yarn. So this is the yarn that I got. It is 4-ply, I think is what, yeah, it translates to. In the camouflage color, which I don't know that I would call this camo. It says color is 04338, but whatever. And so I just finished the leg of the sock yesterday's, which means today I will be putting in the heel and starting the foot. I did 15 rows of 1x1 rib. I did a smaller cuff because I'm doing a ribbed sock, so it is a 3x1 rib, pretty plain. I like these colors quite a bit. I think they kind of remind me of a sunset, but they also kind of remind me of the old like VHS box for the Home Alone movie. I don't know, but I think it's gonna look nice, and I like that you can really see the ribbed pattern now. Here, I'll just hold it up one more time. Maybe in a way that you can see anything. So yeah, and I did 64 stitches because my dad is not a big guy and his feet are only slightly larger than mine. But I'll be doing a fish lips kiss heel as per usual, and my rounded toe as per usual. And yeah, I feel pretty good about it. The yarn is not the softest, but I find that Regia softens up quite a bit once you wash it. So hopefully that will go off the needles pretty quick. I've been working on them since Sunday, which is not super long when you think about the fact that I've been also working on other projects. So let me just get that back in my Adventure Time bag. Yeah. And my last work in progress is the one that I'm the most excited about, which is that you may have seen it on Instagram if you follow me on Instagram. But I started my Pure Joy shawl, and I love it, okay? So these are the yarns that I'm using. Both Indigodragonfly. Ooh, wait, it's this one. This one matches my sweater almost perfectly. That's so funny. I love this color. Yeah, so these are both Indigodragonfly Geek Club yarns. This one is her most recent installment of Geek Club yarns. It is her, I can't remember the exact name of the colorway, but it's a Blade Runner one. It's 50% merino, 50% silk, so it's very, very soft and shiny. This yarn like glows in the shawl. It's amazing. And then I'm also using this color, which is Dalektible, the yellow Dalek colorway, and this is a merino nylon sock yarn. It's very, very plush and squishy and soft, and I love it. So anyway, here is the shawl so far. Let me just try and get it because there's strings everywhere. Yeah, okay. I'll explain in a second. All right, here we go. Look at it. I love it. I don't know. See how well you can see it. Oh, it's kind of dark today. It shouldn't be because it's bright out, but it's gray. Sorry, okay, I'm just having a day. All right, forgive me, please. Yeah. So this is the Pure Joy shawl by Joji Locatelli, which I feel like needs no introduction at this point. Everybody has been knitting it. It's wonderful. It's my first attempt at like short rows, like a regular wrap and turn short row, and guys, I can confirm it is not scary. If you are afraid of short rows like I was, don't be. This is such a good pattern to start with, because it's garter stitch, and I don't know, and I love doing the short rows. I love, hold on, sorry. It's just like, still so disorienting sometimes. Yeah, I don't know. I love it. It's absolutely a joy to knit. And at first I was kind of like, oh, like the Dalek yarn is considerably different in texture. But I kind of like that because the colors, like it's a very subtle change between the eyelet stripe and like the main wedge. I like that there's that texture difference just to differentiate it a little bit. So I'm interested to see how it looks once I get to the big wedge in the in that yellow. But holy cow, guys. I cannot wait for this to be done, but I also am enjoying knitting it so much that I'm like, am I going to be sad that it's over? I just think these colors are going to look so nice. I'm actually thinking, you guys are probably so tired of me mentioning this, but I'm sorry. This will be a really nice shawl to bring to Disney because it'll be really light, but it'll be able to keep me warm, and it'll be fun colors, and it kind of reminds me of Tamatoa from Moana, the crab, if you are not sure who that is. And yeah, oh my gosh. It's so soft. At first when I started doing the short rows, I'm like, there's no way I'm doing this right. And I was going to rip it out, and I was like, nope, I'm just going to keep going. And I think I'm doing it right because it's getting that asymmetrical shape and the stitch count is working out, so I'm pretty sure I'm good. But yeah, definitely a pattern I would recommend as like a first short row pattern. And it's funny because it is just a garter stitch shawl essentially, but the short rows keep it interesting. And yeah, you're knitting all those rows, but a lot of the rows are quite short, obviously, because they're short rows. So yeah, can't wait to get back into knitting that today. Was there something else I wanted to mention about? Oh, so I'm knitting it on the recommended needle, which is 4 millimeters, which is fine. I'm happy with the fabric I'm getting. They are Hayahayas. It's an interchangeable set that I have. It is not the sharps. It is just the regulars. Now, I will say, I wish that I was knitting this on a sharp rather than regular, just because when you're doing the eyelet rows, there's a purl two together, and it's really hard and frustrating to get my needle into the stitches for that. And I feel like if I had a sharp needle, it would be a much simpler and a much more pleasant process. So when I do that side of it, I'm always kind of like, oh, like I can't wait to get to the end. And like obviously the eyelet rows are just gonna get longer, so that's a little bit frustrating, but not the end of the world. I will survive, I think. But yeah, so that was my Pure Joy shawl, and that is the end of my works in progress, which means that I can move on to stuff I bought for knitting. Okay, so I didn't really buy any yarn. I did order some, but it's not here, so I'm not really going to get into it until it arrives, hopefully by the next episode, but otherwise the episode after that. But I did buy a couple of patterns that I wanted to talk about, one of which I actually forgot to talk about last week. So the first one is the Hedge Witch shawl by Wolf and Fawn Knits, and I will insert a picture here. Yeah, so this shawl is gorgeous. I believe it's a Canadian designer. And I couldn't resist, okay, for a couple reasons. One, the color combo that she knit, like, the sample in is to die for. I love it. I have not knit a worsted weight shawl. I haven't knit a symmetrical triangular shawl in months, so it might be nice to sort of change up the method of knitting. I would like to have something, I mean, probably by the time I knit it, it will be for next winter, but I would like to have a warmer shawl to wear, just because I don't actually really have a warm knitted scarf to wear, which is silly because I live in a cold climate. But yeah, so I'm really excited about that one, and also because it's called Hedge Witch, and anything that makes me feel like a Celtic witch is right up my alley. So I'm anticipating a similar color combination. I might do a really dark green instead of the maroon. I don't know, but obviously I haven't acquired any of the yarn for that, and I don't know when I will be, but I really want to acquire the yarn for that because I think it's really beautiful. But I also really like when I see people like, and it's mostly obviously in historical movies or in like photo shoots, but I love when you see them wearing the shawl and it's like wrapped around their waist and then tied at the back. I think that's so cool. I'm like, can I make that work in real like everyday life? I really want to. I also really want to make like a full like Victorian skirt, like not taffeta and like ruffles and a bustle, but I mean like you know in the most recent Jane Eyre, the way like the shape of her dress and like the fabric of her dresses, like I want to wear a skirt like that. Wouldn't that look so cute with the shawl wrapped around you like that? Would you look crazy? Maybe a little bit, but I feel like it would be worth it maybe. I don't know. And the second pattern I wanted to mention is a new pattern, I believe, and it is the Royal Mile pattern by, I'm hoping I say this right, Justyna Lorkowska, and I will insert a picture here. Yeah, and I had to buy this. One, because now I'm addicted to short rows, and it's, I think, a short row lace shawl. And also one of the other shawls that I wanted knit is Waiting for Rain, and I just think that it might be a good, like, introduction for that one. I don't know. But also because it's called Royal Mile, which is the name of that main street in Edinburgh, Scotland, and Edinburgh is one of my favorite places. I know I've mentioned it in the past, but Luke and I went to Edinburgh for part of our honeymoon, and it was absolutely magical. We loved the Royal Mile. We spent so much time on the Royal Mile, so I kind of like had no choice. I had to buy it, and I think like she had a promo. It might still be going. I'm not sure. You'll have to go check the Ravelry page, but yeah, she had a little promo going, so I bought it on sale. I don't know if you noticed this, but I buy a lot of patterns on sale. That's kind of how I justify it. I'm like, but it's 15% off, it's 20% off, whatever. So I'm very excited to at some point knit those. I'd like to dye some yarn that like is based on the colors of the Royal Mile, because I thought that might be pretty for that shawl and would really make me think of Scotland, since I didn't get to buy any yarn when I was in Edinburgh because I wasn't a knitter yet. So I just thought that would be nice, and I do have some plans for colorways based on various places in Scotland. Yeah, so that's really all that I got in terms of knitting stuff. I bought that yarn, obviously, for my dad's socks, but it's not obviously the most exciting thing, and I've already shown it to you, so that means the knitting portion of the podcast is over. So if that's all you came for, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time, hopefully. And if not, and you're gonna stick around, we are gonna jump right into my life, etc. Okay, I have a couple things to talk about today, but I'm gonna try not to babble on for too long, because again, the point was to have a shorter episode. Yeah, so the first thing I want to talk about is, okay, in December or January, I think it was January, I did that escape room thing with my family, and for my friend's birthday, she also wanted to do it. So it was me, my friend Anna, and my friend Elena, and we went to the adventure rooms. It was one that I had done before, but we hadn't gotten terribly far. I think we only got like 50 or 60%. And it was so much fun again, like to do it. We got to 75%, which was awesome, before our time ran out. And then because we had hit, I think 75%, we got an extra 10-ish minutes to play. And then we beat it in that 10 minutes. It was so awesome. Our team name was called the Bitter Knitters, which the lady who was running our room thought was really funny, and she said we were very entertaining to watch. We did a lot of screaming and like laughing hysterically and flopping on the floor and being overly dramatic, as you do. So that was a lot of fun. I again really recommend doing the escape rooms if you have them around you, because they're stressful, but like in a good way. And then after that, we went to this restaurant called something like the Public House and Kitchen or something. A little hipster restaurant that serves tapas appetizers. It was alright. It's a little expensive for my taste and a little hipster for my taste. Okay, now we're going to talk about, like, that was really the only interesting thing that happened this week. But now we're going to talk about, like, TV and movies and stuff. Because I have some things to say. So, like I mentioned before, The OA, which is a Netflix original. First season is on Netflix. I binge watched the whole thing in 2 days. I love it so much. I loved it so much that I then immediately made Luke binge watch it in 2 days. And I loved it just as much the second time. And actually, almost more the second time. Because the first time I was watching it while I was knitting, so I wasn't watching the screen the whole time. But when I was watching it the second time with Luke, I didn't do any knitting while I was watching. And then I was picking up on a lot more details, which was really neat. I bawled my eyes out at the end, and I know it's a very polarizing finale. A lot of people didn't like it or thought it was too weird, but I don't think this is really a spoiler, but there's a lot of the use of dance in this show, and I love watching dance. I used to watch So You Think You Can Dance religiously. I love watching contemporary routines on YouTube. I'm not a dancer at all, but I really appreciate watching people who dance. And I just thought it was so cool. I really liked that they used dance instead of special effects for some of the stuff in that show. It was so powerful to me. And if you've watched the OA, please, like, let me know. I need someone to talk about this with. Like, all, like, theories and stuff. But just maybe don't comment below because I don't want to spoil anybody, but, like, feel free to, like, message me on Instagram or something to talk about it, because I still, like, it kept me up for 2 days, like, my mind, like, working through theories and stuff. So, yeah, God, like, now just thinking about it. And, like, the ending, I watched, like, 20 times on YouTube and cried pretty much every single time. I thought it was so good. Okay, I'll stop talking about that one. But if you haven't watched the OA and you like kind of like weird sci-fi sort of things, then I would say give it a try. The first 2 episodes, I won't lie to you, are not the most exciting. They're really set-up episodes, but if you persevere into the 3rd episode, I think you will find it more exciting. And also, I love stories within stories, and I loved all the characters. I loved how troubled and broken they all were, but how they all still came together, and so good. The other thing, so Luke and I went to see Logan yesterday, and I love the X-Men movies, with the exception of the 3rd X-Men movie, like, of the original trilogy, not the, like, new ones with James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender. But other than that, I've always enjoyed them. They're one of those movies, like, that if it was, like, on TV, I would always watch it. So I've probably watched the first X-Men movie, like, 7 or 8 times at this point. And I loved X-Men First Class. I love X-Men Days of Future Past. I liked X-Men Apocalypse. It was not my favorite, but it was pretty good. I liked Wolverine Origins. I liked that other Wolverine movie that I can't remember the name of right now, where he's in Japan. I really like the X-Men movies, and I really like Wolverine. So when we watched the trailer for Logan, I was so stoked for it. The trailer was making me have emotions, and I was like, yes, okay. I'm ready now for this movie. So I went in with, like, really high expectations, and, like, I'd heard, like, people were crying, and I was like, yes, I'm ready for that. I am ready to be sad. I'm ready to cry. I love crying in movies, and I cry all the time in movies. So, like, I was prepared for those emotions, and I didn't feel any of them. Oh, it was so sad. It wasn't a bad movie by any means. It was a good movie, but it also just didn't feel like it knew what it wanted to be, if that makes sense. I'm a film critic now. But a lot of the things that I think they thought were going to be emotional, maybe were emotional for other people, just didn't feel right to me. They felt like cheap shots, or they were inconsistent with the character up until that point, so it didn't make sense to me that that was what was happening. The ending did not feel justified to me. Again, it felt like they were cheap-shotting the audience. They were not giving their audience the benefit of the doubt, I felt. And it just felt a little weak to me. And they keep selling it as like this, I don't know, this dystopian post-apocalyptic thing, but guys, no, it was not, okay? Like, it was just dusty. But otherwise, everything was pretty much as it is right now. They're just, I don't know what they were thinking, honestly. If you've seen Logan, I'm also interested to know your thoughts, and if you were in the camp that, like, felt like it was great, like, really emotional, and did the character justice for his, you know, supposedly last movie, because I think Hugh Jackman is hanging up the towel as Wolverine, potentially. I don't know if I believe that. I feel like maybe he's gonna come back again, but whatever. Hugh Jackman, not the character. Wolverine can come back however many times he wants. I just mean Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I don't know. I really thought they were going to give him a better send-off. I was a little disappointed. And it was one of those movies, like, okay, when I went to see Captain America Civil War, Captain America is my favorite Avenger. I loved Winter Soldier so much. I had high hopes for Civil War, and what ended up happening when I watched Civil War is I was like, oh, I'm not really enjoying this, but it's okay, I still have time to enjoy this. Like, it still has time to be good. And then, like, it ended. And I was like, oh, I didn't enjoy that at all. That was kind of how this was. It was like, it's okay, I still have time to feel sad. It's okay, I still have time to feel sad. And then the movie was over. So, I don't know. It was not, I was a little disappointed. The trailer I felt was better than the movie, but that's also just my opinion. But I really want to know, like, if you really liked Logan, if you've seen it, like, I want to know, like, why you thought that it was, like, a great movie, a great, like, emotional, like, with great emotional payoff. 'Cause maybe you'll, like, open my eyes. I don't know, like, I'm down with it. So anyway, that, I think is gonna be it for this episode. If you would like to find me elsewhere on the internet, you can find me on Ravelry as dabblejoy. And if you would like to find me on Instagram, my username is Rhineland Story, and as always, I will put that information in the description box so you don't have to try and, like, scribble it down or anything like that. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Happy knitting, happy living, over and out. Come on, dude.